Good morning, everybody. This is part 2 of the video I'm talking about on Are We Creators? Pick up where we left off. Does how we perceive the reality around us using our 5 senses determine what we think our reality is? One school of thought is that how we perceive our reality is determined by how it makes us feel inside from the use of our 5 senses. That actually comes from the Kabbalah. That seems to be right to a certain degree. If you live in Seattle and step outside and see it's raining for the 10th day in a row, the thought of another day of rain will probably make you depressed. That's how you'll see your reality. If you live in Arizona and after 3 months of hot, dry weather, you step outside and you see it raining, you'll probably be happy. You may even go for a walk without taking an umbrella. Again, your perception of the reality based upon how you're feeling inside. What's the difference between those two experiences when it's rain in both places? Well, rain is neutral, as is the reality around us, meaning it's neither good nor bad. It simply is what it is, a vibration. It's how we perceive or translate the reality around us using our 5 senses that makes us feel how we do. It's not the reality, events, but how those events, the reality makes us feel inside, that determines our thoughts, and those are based on our beliefs. Is our reality just a dream illusion, with none of it being real, including us, and anyone we think that might be running this reality as well? First, let's look at this idea from the standpoint of science, a field of study that many people accept as truth. Science tells us we and everything else are made from atoms, which are matter. That the difference between atoms is how many electrons they have spinning around them. They also tell us that 99.99% of the atoms, including their electron orbit, is empty space. Think about what those two ideas mean for the reality existence of human form. First, if the only difference between the atoms is how many energy balls they have spinning around them, why does everything on this world look different to us when everything is made from the same atoms? They tell us putting different atoms together can create different chemicals and structures. How can putting 2 atoms that look the same except for how many electrons are spinning around them make the atoms appear differently? If you add more tennis balls to a wading pool, do the tennis balls become basketballs, or does a pool become a car? There are not atoms that look like each part of the human body any more than there are atoms that look like a car. When you think about the supposed size of atoms, and how many it would take just to form one hair on our head, you should begin to wonder how each atom knows what it is supposed to look like and where it is supposed to set up. How do all of those atoms stay together, at least how we see it, when we move about, with the universe supposedly expanding beyond the speed of light, the wind blowing, the rain falling from the sky, and the earth spinning at 1100 miles per hour? When we take metals and minerals out of the ground, most of them look very different from what they will look like after we process them. Their atomic structure might be the same within the mix of atoms, but we have changed their outward appearance. Science is telling us that we have the ability to change the appearance of atoms without changing the atoms. If so, why can't we change how we look at any time, like the so-called shapeshifters do? Paper comes from trees, yet looks completely different. How would that happen if the atoms were real and were meant to form whatever object they were forming? They wouldn't be able to change structure and appearance. The truth is, atoms aren't real, yet they are a created form of energy, which is also a creation, which is light. Atoms are formed from light. Atoms are made from light, which is a non-physical form of energy. Atoms are created to give light the appearance of physicality, matter, by having a structure which can vibrate differently at any time. This allows the image we see, our reality, to change as we seem to move from place to place, and as we change how and what we can see in our reality. The term often used to describe the ability to see our reality differently is awakening. This means everything you see is an illusion that is created, projected from the vibration of atoms being translated by what we call our mind, which is another projection. The translation of those vibrating atoms, the image we think we see, depends on the programming we have accepted as our reality, meaning our beliefs. We can change how we see the reality around us by changing our beliefs, but the reality doesn't actually change because it isn't really there. Changing beliefs changes how the brain translates the reality around us. The reality around us is a reflection of what we call a torsion field of energy, which expands and contracts at the same time. What we see and call distance or space and movement is another illusion, because everything that we will ever see in our reality, including us, is just a reflection from the energy field of atoms around us. Over there is actually right here, and so is every place else. Remember, they're always talking about multiple dimensions and realities that are all existing within the same place where we are at the same time. And this is in reference to that kind of a concept, which is true, because there is nothing outside of where we are at the time. Everything is simply that field of energy, and depending on how we see that field of energy, which bases on our beliefs and the limitations that we have, will determine what are those dimensions and realities we're seeing. The second point science makes is that atoms consist of 99.99% empty space. If this is true, then how can we believe and see things as solid structures? The appearance of solidity would have to be an illusion, since they tell us atoms are constantly in motion, vibration, and have what would be considered massive amounts of empty space around and between them compared to their size. The air around us, which we see as empty space, is also made of atoms, yet we see nothing there. If we were small enough to move between atoms, we would not see them as hearts, lungs, cars, houses, or people. We would see them as they are, atoms, vibrating points of energy. The amount of empty space and atoms within our reality would also have to be the same when you accept the torsion field concept, or that there is no reality outside of where we think we are at any time, or where we think we are at any time. We don't actually create something in what we see as empty space. We move objects from another place to fill that empty space and create empty space where those objects came from. When we construct a building, we do so by getting wood, metal, plastic, and all other items used to construct a building from another place. We put them together and form a building where we saw none before. This gives us the illusion of creating something where nothing was, adding to our reality. Yet all those items came from someplace within our reality that would now have an empty space where those materials had been. We are simply moving the illusionary objects from one place to another within the same energy field. We are taking what already exists, putting it together, and changing its appearance. This means our reality never changes size. It only changes how we see the vibration, which gives us the illusion of a changed reality in different sizes. The reality we see is only a reflection of vibration upon a field of atoms. The atoms of the movie screen, and we project the movie upon that screen. The screen never changes. Only the movie we project upon it does. Is reality just a series of random events, moments in space-time, with nothing created or set up? And what happens to us is just a roll of the dice of the results of random thoughts in our brain. I've already explained that we aren't creating our reality as we go along, that we are experiencing what already is and are actually responding to what was, living in the past, which shows us that the realities we are experiencing already exist before we experience them, even if they only exist as energetic thoughts or possibilities. The only thing we are doing is responding to that existing, presented reality using what we believe are our five senses. The reality presented is controlling, limiting our reactions, thereby directing future events and realities. It also shows our perceived reality isn't created by random thoughts in our brain, or by any thoughts in our brain at all. I was talking about the realities presented. When you really think about the reality that you are seeing, it dictates the decisions and possibilities that are going to come from that reality. In other words, the reality around you is directing what you're going to do and how you're going to do it to that extent. And I'll get more into that as I get a little farther into this. If our experiences here are just a series of random events, moments in space-time, with nothing set up, and even if our experiences are already set up, those events, moments, must already exist on some level, otherwise we couldn't have them to experience. You can't look at the photos in a photo album if the album doesn't already exist. There are many people especially within the religions of the world, that believe there are angels, our deceased family members, and other beings that are watching over us from day to day and keeping us safe. If that is true, then they must know what's going to happen to us, what decisions we are going to make. Otherwise, how would they be able to help us, keep us safe? If our reality was a series of random events without anything set up, they would have no idea what we were going to do before we did it, meaning they would have to try and keep us safe from something we already did. Now, some would say that time might be different for them, and that they might be able to see what is happening and then respond to it, even as it is happening to us. I can agree that for other beings outside of our reality, although to help us they must also be part of our reality, time might pass differently, and they might be able to see more of the possibilities we could choose and what could happen. I would say look at your life, that of the people you know well, and all the problems that you hear are going on in this world, and then tell me you really believe there's someone hanging around you and all others on this world to help them, to keep them safe. If they are here to help you and can intervene in your life for the better, why don't you have everything you want and wake up happy every day? If our reality life is a series of random events, just rolls of the dice, that should apply to everyone here, probably the entire physical universe. Because remember, the entire universe is us, is humans, either past or present, future, or all at the same time. It would mean there is no plan or even a purpose for any of us, that every event in our life, including birth and death, would be random and subject to change at any time. In essence, this means the entire universe would change every time you had a thought or took an action, and the same would have to happen every time another person had a thought or took an action. Our lives would never be as stable and flowing as they are if our reality was just random events. We could wake up one day and find our house gone, find our family could be different, or we could be different. We could even be in jail, in the war. It would be just random events. I must admit, one thing I do have to admit, that could be a very interesting life, and it certainly wouldn't be boring if your reality was switching randomly and you never knew where you were going to be from time to time. By now we know that we aren't creating our reality as we go along, which means our thoughts and or actions would have to make us switch already existing realities. This would include that this would indicate that all possible realities based on all decisions we could make or not make already exist, and that we are moving through them as required. These reality changes would include every decision and action by every other person on this world as well. In case you haven't watched my video on what realities and time are, I'll give you a short explanation here so you'll understand why I am saying what I am saying. Time is a creation so we can have an experience. Experiences have a beginning and an end, so we created linear time in order to put moments of space-time together and create an experience. All moments that ever were, are, or will be have already been created, happened, and are like photos floating around within a field of energy. Each of those photos would be a reality, which is a moment in space-time, even if it's only one atom different from another one. What we see as our life here is taking those moments of space-time photos and placing them in a photo album so we can go through it from front to back. As long as we are shifting from one reality to another fast enough, our senses will perceive it as movement, time, and a flowing experience. Since we already have seen we aren't creating our realities as we go along, we can see by the above example that our thoughts and or actions aren't causing us to change realities randomly either. This means our lives are not a series of random events, chance happenings, luck, or caused by a roll of the dice. If we the humans, next question, if we as humans aren't creating our reality, then who is? Is it other beings that have trapped us here, as many believe? And are they creating our reality or making us create it as they want in order for them to draw our energy? The concept that others are creating our reality and have trapped us here is accepted by many so-called awakened people in religions as well. Most religious people accept this idea by default, even though they may not realize it, since they believe they were sent here, created by God or a deity, meaning they didn't choose to be here, and they are stuck here until they die or are good enough to be taken back home by their God or deity. Throw in the concept of burning in hell or endless cycles of reincarnation to fix your prior mistakes, and you can see how deeply the idea of being trapped victims here is programmed. Many awakening people accept this idea because they say that if they had a choice, they would never have come to this world to suffer as they and others are doing. Of course, they think of this while they are in human form, without much, if any, memory of what they really are before they incarnated here, actually shifted your awareness to this point in space-time. Remember, before you shifted your awareness here, you knew it was all an illusion, and so was the suffering and death you were going to go through and others. They accept the idea that when they die, their spirit or soul are caught by these unseen beings and recycled back to this world to be used as an endless power source. Accepting these concepts as truths means they also have accepted the idea that their reality, Earth, their life, is real, and that they are victims of unseen beings beyond their control. They see the controlling governments and the rich and the powerful, hear stories about secret societies that are controlling the governments, stories of vibration trapping grids around Earth, and stories about aliens that are on the Earth creating hybrid humans so they can control this world, and it enforces the idea that they are victims and trapped. Yet at the same time, they accept that they are all knowing infinite spirits who are limitless. And the question I usually ask them is, if they are all knowing limitless spirits, how can they get trapped, caught, or fooled by other beings who are in physical form, or even by other spirits? Are there other beings attempt to control our thoughts, program our beliefs, hence create our reality? Yes, there are. The difference is they are doing what they are doing because we created them to do just that. Let me repeat that. We created them within our illusionary reality to play a role. They are no realer or less an illusion than we or this reality is, and they are playing a role just like we are. The human you think you are in this life is a role that an aspect of you is playing. It's not who you are when you leave this reality, this life, but it is a part of who you are. If you remember what I wrote earlier about there being nothing beyond where you are, no distance or space outside of your reality, and what time and realities are, you will understand that what we call this life and what you are outside of this life is at the same time and in the same place. Therefore, there is nothing for you to escape from or be trapped within. You are only a victim of your own creation by intention, and only you can get yourself free of that programmed illusionary trap. The awareness of being, what some refer to as consciousness or soul, is what you are when you leave this projected illusion of a reality, and at the same time is what you are while you are in this projected reality. That is who you are and will always be, no matter how many roles you are playing in this or other realities or dimensions or universes. The other beings in this universe and in our current reality are part of the programming within this, our universal matrix, designed to keep us believing the programs of this reality and keep our awareness within it. Keep us from or slow down our remembering what we are and what is real. Many of those we think are in control are really just simulations, background players, created to make everything seem more real and believable. When you accept the idea that you are trapped in your reality, it is the same as accepting the karmic cycle of forced reincarnation, a loop you are programmed to believe you can never break until you are good enough or have learned enough to escape. It's always promised to be somewhere in the future, just out of your human reach. These programs are all a version of the basic religious programming, promising you something later on if you give now. Is our reality simply waves, vibrations of energy, and how we perceive those waves is based upon our beliefs? And can we then change our beliefs, thus our reality? Do all realities already exist, and can we, upon changing our beliefs, switch realities to one that is more in line with what we currently believe? Does our reality determine our beliefs, meaning we react to our reality, not our reality reacting to us? As I wrote earlier, what we see is the world in reality, is a field of energy containing an almost limitless array of vibrations possibilities. Quantum science has shown that this field of energy can be a wave and a particle, an atom, at the same time, and takes on whatever form is required by the observer. They've shown that the act of observation and even thought affects the outcome of their experiments. And I'll explain more about this towards the end of the paper and why it happens. Combine this information with what I have already written, and you'll understand that what we call our reality, world, is nothing but a created field of energy vibration, which our brain translates accepts as solid form, and we believe we are interacting with, and that it is separate from or outside of us. How we see this energy field in projected solid forms is based upon our programming, which has become our beliefs. This programming started before we were born, first through our DNA, which is nothing more than programmed memories as it formed our cells based upon the programming it contained. Secondly, we absorbed the programming by what we sensed in the world outside of the womb. And thirdly, what we see, saw, and are taught by our parents, family, friends, society, and school. So yes, our reality is a field of created energy that takes form when we observe or interact with it. And how we see this reality is based upon our programming, which is what we have come to believe, accept as truth, our beliefs. We see the world around us based upon the limiting programs we have accepted while in a projected human form. Earlier I talked about why when we visit the desert we see what we accept as a desert, and why when we go to the ocean we see the waves, the water, and the shoreline. These realities are part of the basic programming, and as long as we accept the basic programming, projected reality, we will continue to see those realities as programmed. Those same programs change as we get older because we are told and accept we do. It's the same as us aging. It happens because we accept that, and it's a bullcrap program. We believe the world around us is there and as projected, and that is why when we go to places with others, they will see things similar to what we see. Those with us are also projections within our reality, just like us, and the scenes around us as well. I've had experiences where I temporarily saw through the illusion of separation between myself and the reality around me. As I watched the 3D aspect of reality go away, and I saw the scenes around me become a single flat plane. As I looked around, I realized there was no separation between Ron and the ground and the trees around me. We were all a projection. I was seeing a reality on that movie screen, and at the same time, I was part of the screen. And the illusions of 3D disappeared. I was one with the reality around me, and could see the lines of energy upon which the illusion was being projected. After a few seconds, the reality around me returned to the accepted illusion of 3D, and I again appeared separated from the reality around me. Sorry, the camera fell over. Interesting change of events there. I will say being in a 3D illusion is much nicer than being in the 2D illusion. The 3D reality is much easier to accept as real and interact with. There's also an accepted idea that each of us has our own universe reality, and that some others within our reality are there to help us with our experience, and we are a projection within their reality to help them. These would be people like some of your family, friends, and others you interact with. Some call this a soul group. Not everybody you meet and or interact with is real, and by real I mean they have their own universe. Many of the people you will see and some you interact with are what I referred to earlier as Sims. They are programmed projections designed for the background use, fill in, test you, and make the reality seem more real. They are there to protect and enhance the standard programs, so you will accept those programs as being real. I have another paper and video on Sims, so I'm not going to go into detail on what they are. Others believe that everyone in your reality is an aspect of you, and when I say you, I'm not talking about the person you see in the mirror, but your spiritual self, which means everyone is you, and in the end, you're only helping yourself. So your programming beliefs determine how and what you see within upon the vibrations around you. If you believe it has to be a certain way, accept the limitations you have been led to believe are correct, that is how you will see the projected illusion around you. Think of the holodeck on Star Trek movies, and that's what we're experiencing, only a much better version of it. If you change what you believe, let go of the limiting programs because you come to know it is programming and limits how you see your reality, you can change how you see the vibrations around you. This is the idea of changing your beliefs to change your reality. When you decide to examine your beliefs and realize that your beliefs are usually ideas you accepted from others without having any proof of it being true, you can start the process of changing those beliefs and even make them a knowing as you open your mind to new experiences. So I have other papers on changing your beliefs, which you can find on some of my Facebook pages, and I may have done a video on it, I don't remember. It's when we begin to understand that we are not limited beings, or actually human, that those limitations are the results of accepting the beliefs presented to us, that we can start to free our mind and realize there is much more going on within our reality than we see or have been told. As you open your mind to limitless possibilities, you will begin to see things differently and have experiences that will start showing you those differences, and that anything is possible. When a person says that is impossible, they are correct. When a person says anything is possible, they are correct. There's a concept of being co-creators within our universe reality, and many people accept this as being true. And for me, it depends on what is meant by being co-creators. The idea that we appear to be in our reality with others could indicate that there are others involved in creating the reality we're experiencing, even if they are just projections. The overlapping universes idea, in which we all help each other with our and their experiences, could be true as well. Whether it means we are co-creator or simply playing a role created by each other, I don't know. If we see ourselves and our higher self as being separate, and the higher self is the creator of our reality experience, then it is not a co-created reality, but a creator-experiencer relationship. If we see ourselves as one with the higher self, and others as being created to help us with our experience, then this reality is set up by a single creator, us. And I'm talking about the us on an outside level, so to speak, the spirit level. If you accept that everyone has their own universe and reality, and that we enter other universes in order to experience them, then you would still be looking at a single creator universe, with others coming here for the experience that was created by the other being. You are experiencing what they have created and playing roles within their universe, not creating it with them. Then again, it depends on how a person looks at it. The actors in a movie are not creating the movie, but they are a needed part, a role in it. So it could make them co-creator, depending on how a person defines it. If you look at the single source concept from which all universes, dimensions, and realities were created, in order to experience its thoughts in what we call a physical way, then there's only a single creator, and we and everyone else are just aspects of that source, playing roles. Many people don't like that idea because their ego, their sense of identity, doesn't like the idea that they may not be real beyond the roles they are playing, and think they must be so much more than just an aspect of another being. The only experience I've had in the area of co-creation showed me that when we are at the point of soul, that is, the point of being nothing, we exist without having or needing proof that we exist. It is simply a knowing, a point of awareness. From the point of nothing, we had a thought, and to express that thought, we created source, which is light, energy, and vibration. From source came atoms, what we call matter, in order to create an illusionary physical reality. Source split itself into aspects that I call our subconscious. These aspects each created a universe in which to express and experience a single thought in all its possibilities, which includes different timelines, dimensions, and realities. I have a video talking about timelines, dimensions, and realities. You can watch if you want more of a definition on those. The subconscious, which is actually our higher self, then split into other aspects to create all parts of what science calls our universe. This includes galaxies, planets, stars, and all beings needed to experience the thought to its fullest. What we refer to as humans are aspects of the subconscious playing a role, which is why we as humans are just experiencing our reality and not creating it. All other beings we hear about are humans in past or future, playing out different timelines, dimensions, and possibilities. Remember also, it's all happening simultaneously. It happened simultaneously. Are each of us doing the same thing as souls and creating our own universes, or are we just aspects of the same source, one soul? I don't know the answer to that. I should say I haven't been shown the answer to that, because I haven't been shown anything beyond myself as nothing. Are there other nothings and doing the same thing? Ask yourself the question and see what you get as an answer. But I'll only tell you what it is I know and I've experienced, not what I haven't. Do we switch realities as we change our beliefs? Yes, we do. If you remember that movement in time are created illusions, and that all moments in space-time are just moments, each being a single snapshot in all that is, was, and will be, you will understand that in order to have a linear experience time, we have to shift or move our awareness from moment to moment, reality to reality, to make it appear like time is passing and we are doing something. We are always switching realities, which is just changing the projected illusion upon the surrounding energy field. And as we change our beliefs and open our mind to other possibilities, we are allowed access to more vibrational possibilities. Does our reality determine our beliefs? Meaning, do we react to our reality, or is our reality reacting to us? The answer is yes to both parts of the question. As long as we accept and live the default programming, our minds will react to the reality appearing around us, yet at the same time, our mind is already accepting or having expectations of what that limited reality will look like based upon what we believe, so we will see what we believe. This is even more true in other dimensions where there are less limiting programs. When we change our limiting beliefs and open ourselves to more vibrational opportunities, our projected reality seems to be shifting in line with our new thoughts. We have different experiences, and we see things differently. What is actually happening is our thoughts are shifting to be more in line with the reality we're going to be experiencing. At the same time, we are letting go of some of our expectations of what that reality will look like and what will happen, and allowing the reality to project, based upon formerly unthought of or unaccepted possibilities. We're becoming more in line with our higher spiritual self and becoming closer to remembering that we are unlimited spiritual beings and that our limitations are only the results of accepting them. Are our realities predetermined in what we experience, including our thoughts, just a series of events, moments that we as humans have no choice but to have and follow? Does anything we do as humans have the ability to change anything in or about the reality in which we find ourselves? I have explained that realities are not created by the human mind as we go along. This is because our mind's thoughts are uncontrolled, and we are extremely emotional, feeling, ego beings that judge everything we encounter or expect to encounter. Our world reality is also fear-based. So if humans were, as we are, allowed to create whatever thoughts came into our awareness, most would be living in eternal hell or dead within minutes, and there would be little growth as creators on the human level. We are told and believe that we are limited beings capable of very little, so anything we create would be based upon those limitations and fears. For this reason, the realities we are experiencing were already decided before we project our aspect into the human-based form role reality. We are experiencing what we have already set up based upon the role we are playing where our awareness currently is, and the outcome for that person or the role we're playing. Every decision we are to make, an event we encounter was set up, and the outcome decision already set before we incarnate or projected to this reality. If nothing else, this should take some of the pressure off when you have to make decisions. Follow what you feel, and remember you can't make a mistake or a bad decision, because it is all set up for you to do what you are going to do. I'm not saying you'll always like every decision you make or do things that you do after it's done. I'm saying that in the long term, it is the way it is for a reason. Don't regret, move forward and learn. Our photo album was already made before we got here, and here's a relative term, since here and there are the same place. You are not making decisions here because those decisions have already been determined. You are just experiencing those decisions with feelings and emotions, and not knowing what the outcome of those choices will be. Most would say that statement is wrong, since they make decisions every day. I would ask them to look at the decisions they are making and realize all those decisions are based upon what they believe they are limited to and the choices others have pre-selected for them. How can you have free will and choice to make decisions when those choices are limited to what the program gives you or by someone else? Since you can only make one choice at a time, there is really no choice. And once you have made a decision, it is done and can't be changed. You can make another decision, but you can't go back in time and change what you've already decided. When you walk out a door, you can usually go left, right, straight ahead, or back the way you came, so people believe they're making a decision. I say, what if you want to go straight up or straight down? What if there's a building or a wall in front of you? Your choices have been predetermined as long as you are experiencing living the programs of this reality. We have been given the illusion of choice to make us think we are making decisions to keep us content and from looking beyond where we are. When you look at the realities you're experiencing, you will see that those realities are always directing you towards limited decisions or actions. The reality we're responding to gives us limited choices so that we can be moved in certain directions in order to have certain experiences. This is how our guide, subconscious, directs our life in order for us to have the experiences we are supposed to have so we can grow and become creators. And yes, humans can become creators later on. Earlier I talked about quantum science and their findings that an observer, by their presence or thought, can influence an experiment, and that energy can become a wave or particle depending on what is needed by the observer. They have done tests in which they take paired electrons and separate them by vast distances, and then change the rotation of one photon and see, which are light particles, and then see that the other one changes exactly the same time in the same way. These tests have led them to believe that everything is connected in some unknown way, and that what happens to one happens to the other. But they're at a loss to explain how and why this happens. But I will tell you why it happens. Remember earlier I said that movement and distance are illusions, and that there's nothing outside of where we are. That is the reason they're getting the test results they're getting. The DNA, blood, and photon they think are moving and separating are not separating or moving. Not only is the separation of those materials an illusion, but the materials themselves are an illusion. The test results are really designed to get humans to think outside of the box and expand their minds to new possibilities beyond the program they've already been given. Unfortunately, science can't move beyond what they have been taught about matter and physics, so they remain in the box, even if it's just a little bigger box. There are also studies in which they have taken DNA and blood from a person and placed it in a different location from where the person is. They then do things that cause the person to react emotionally and record the changes in their aura energy field. At the same time, they're recording the DNA or the blood and observe that the aura around it changes at the same time and in the same way the person did, no matter how far away the sample is from the person. From these test results, they have concluded that humans can change their reality by changing their energy field, that by changing their emotions and thoughts, they can control and change their reality. The truth is, humans are reacting to the reality, not making changes to it before they observe or interact with it. Humans still living within the matrix program are living in the past and reacting to the reality being presented as they are supposed to. They've actually done some experiments to where they hooked up a person who was like in a CAT scan machine, and they were monitoring the brain activity, and they were showing them a series of pictures and letters and numbers and so on, and the person was to say what it is they saw. And they were finding that the brain was actually recording the activity, knowing what was coming before it was even done, before the person became conscious of that decision. It's only when you move beyond the pre-programmed reality and allow those accepted limitations and expectations to disappear that you'll be able to change your reality. Prior to that point, we are doing exactly what we were supposed to and given the thoughts about what decisions to make. So it seems like we make the decisions and reality followed, when it's actually the other way around. Do humans, as they are, have the ability to change their reality? The answer is no, because they aren't ready to do so. Once the human projection advances enough to let go of accepted programming, gains control of their emotions and feelings, and puts the ego in its proper place, they will be balanced enough and in contact enough with their higher self to be able to start creating their reality, or rather picking existing realities they want to experience. This point is now being called center point, a place of balance, where they can become an observer of their reality. And when I say observer, I don't mean we stand by and watch the reality unfold around us without being a part of it. I mean we are an observer from the emotional, judgmental standpoint. This allows us to create without the emotional involvement attachment, which will allow the creation to follow all possibilities and the beings within to have the full experience. My end findings is that we as humans are not creating our reality and have no say in what is happening with the reality, because we are responding to what has already happened. We are experiencing a prearranged photo album so we can experience it with feelings and emotions and learn to control those feelings and emotions in order to become creators within the human projection. At another level, we are the creators of our universe and all the roles within that universe, and being human is only one role we are playing within that creation. Remember, the script for this universe goes way beyond where we are and the role we are playing at this point in time. So to say that humans are the creators of a reality when other beings, timelines, dimensions, and worlds are also a part of this reality universe is stretching the concept of being a creator and allowing the ego to have its way. Humans are a part of the creation, not the creators of it. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and if you have any questions, you feel free to send them to me, and if it's something I can answer, I'll be glad to do so. Goodbye.